So this is a drill you can practice while you're driving. Don't do it when you're in traffic or a lot of turns. It should be on an uncrowded freeway, maybe. So this is the steering wheel. If I put my hand, turn a little bit here, if I put my hand on the center, you can see the angle that it's creating to my center line. A really skinny person might be able to do that, but this whole thing works better if you put your hand off center so that your forearm's parallel. Not this muscle which has a curve to it, but the bones in your arm parallel to your center line. You want your thumb on the outside, not gripping. And what you're going to notice is your arm's going to get tense and you're going to push. I mean, your muscles aren't used to this, so you're going to do things wrong. You're going to push on that steering wheel, you'll feel tension, or you're going to pull. So you're going to get used to that. You're going to learn to relax from your elbow down. And you're going to use the muscles in your upper arm to keep that elbow in place. And what you're going to find when you've got your hand on the steering wheel is you're going to learn the difference between this position and that position, because that's where your elbow is going to want to be. And this is where you're going to want to train it to be. So when you're doing this, you're having to strain some muscles to get there. And all the while you're looking down the road, you're not looking at your elbow because you're driving a car. And so you're learning to sense this peripherally while you're driving down the road, and your elbow's going to want to do that. Now, I suggest using your clock or your odometer, and don't do more than a minute on each arm and switch back and forth. Maybe in the beginning you got to do 30 seconds on each arm until you can work up. And I wouldn't try to do 2 minutes or anything. I would try to work up from 3 minutes, 3 1-minute segments on each arm to 5 to 7 to 10. And you'll really strengthen those muscles, and you'll ingrain in your subconscious that position so that you can be in here in the middle of a stressful fight and your elbows won't fly. We call that flying elbows. There was something else. What was it? Put your hands back up. So after you get to where you can maybe do 10 1-minute segments on each arm, then grab the steering wheel down here, and with this elbow in, take your hand off the outside and just run it back and forth on the inside, and do that for as many segments as you're doing here, and you'll double your time. Maybe you can't double it at first. Maybe you got to work your way up to it. And that's something you can do while you're driving, and you're training your mind to be aware of all this peripherally while you're looking down the road, making sure you're not going to get in an accident.
I was waiting for you to tell me that.
Yes, this is the disclaimer. If you get in an accident, it's not my fault. Now, there was one other thing. Driving down the road. Oh, stretching. So right now, let's say you're here, but if you do the stretch I'm going to show you, maybe you can get here, and that will be the incorrect position. So what I want you to do is hook your hand inside your arm and let your hand go over, the other hand go over your shoulder, and get your elbow, go ahead and do this. Get your elbow, see, on that side of the wrist. You don't want to be on this side, you don't get as good a pull. And with your hand over your shoulder, pull your elbow back as far as you can, and you'll feel a stretch back here. And that's what you want to stretch. Then bring your hand back parallel to your center line and parallel to the floor, and go forward and back, stretching it. And then turn your palm down. Now you'll create an angle to your center line here. Minimize it. Pull your hand in that direction and your elbow in that direction, and go forward and back, trying to keep your forearm parallel to the floor. And you'll get a really good stretch. Don't do this while you're driving. This is what you do when you're stopped. So now you pull your, on the opposite arm, get your elbow over your wrist, grab up here, let your hand go over your shoulder, then bring it back It'll increase the stretch and it'll be a little different. Try to get your hand parallel to the floor. The tendency is going to want to do that. Go in and out with it, keeping the pressure on the elbow. That maintains the stretch, and it's good to bend your thumb at this point. Good time to practice bending your thumb. Now see how okay, you're parallel out here, but back here you're up a little bit. So go a little lower with your wrist. There you go. Keep the pressure on, then go palm down. And of course your hand's going to want to go that way, so pull it back. Keep the pressure on at the elbow and go forward and back, parallel to the floor. And this will stretch your shoulder nicely. And you'll increase your range of motion. When I was first training, I had a classmate, Dennis Cotton, real good guy. Little taller, little thinner. He could get his elbow in more. And I took a lot there because he could get his elbow in a little further than me. So having your elbow in is helpful.
Am I correct that the elbow stays on the center line along the entire arm?
Parallel to your center line.
Oh.
You don't have to have it on. But you do want to pull this over. I mean, if you
Yes.
can get your elbow to your center, you're trying to stretch your shoulder. Yeah, I mean, mine's on my center line. I can get my elbow to my center line. A really skinny person might be able to get it past his center line. You're trying to stretch the shoulder, so wherever you can have to take your elbow to get that stretch, you got to do that.
Females can't do that.
So in Wing Chun, elbows are really important. Elbow, you want to be, just go and get in this position. Just punch. A lot of people focus on the wrist, blocking. That will give you this, pull down with your elbow, and that. We focus on the elbow, because as soon as I touch your elbow, I've got your balance,
Yes.
as well as pinning that arm. And when I become aware of your elbows, I also become aware of my own, because I want to keep you from doing that to me. Also, if I'm here, let's see, turn a little bit. If I'm here with my elbow out, you can strike in. If I turn my elbow in, it's harder for you to strike, and I know you're coming, and I can fuse it easily. I actually have a video series that I've shot some video. Anyway, it's all on the elbows.
Is that on the internet,
No.
on your channel?
No, I haven't. I shot the videos and they're on a hard drive that I have to find. But anyway, it's a whole series of lessons about the elbow. I mean, striking is part of it. What we're talking about here is part of it. So it's a complete discourse on the elbow.